Well, this video is about why classism in regards to America, never really ended, and why it's more relevant than a lot of the race baiting bullshit is getting pushed right now. Because, you know, what kind of has to do with that EBT bullshit where I literally seen white Republicans, cheering it on and stuff of that nature, and talking about the per capita this, per capita that. Yeah, niggas are probably the highest group on there per capita, right? Latino Americans right after, then whites. But this is one of those cases where per capita does not matter. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. Because there's still going to be more white families affected than black families affected. Yeah, it's different portions, but it's still a fuck ton of white families getting affected regardless. And it's funny of how scummy a lot of these fucking people are. Because a lot of people cheering that shit on are unironic white nationalists, bro. You can check their threads, you can check their Twitter. They'll be extremely open about it. How the fuck are you a white nationalist and you're voting against programs that affect poor whites? Like, it's funny, like, a lot of these people, they're only white nationalists whenever it's convenient to push their agenda. They don't give a fuck about all whites as a whole. Let's be honest here. Let's be honest here. Because whenever poor whites needed these people the most, they turn their back on them. They outright just stop fucking with them. That kind of reminded me of that one Appalachian-originated group. I forgot the name of it, that used to be allied with the Black Panthers, where they allied with the Black Panthers because they both realized that it was a class issue. If poor whites is allying with the Black Panthers, that's how you know it was a class issue. It was never really necessarily race. It was always class. Because honestly, I don't I notice, and it's with white nationalists specifically. It's not with the black nationalists. Black nationalists, they look out for the poor ones and the rich ones. To the point where they're doing it a bit too much. You start seeing motherfuckers defend bad behavior that shouldn't be defended, right? Or downplayed or deflected. A lot of Latino nationalists, even though it's not really a race and ethnicity or a skin tone, they look out for their people as well for the most part. I'd say they probably slime each other out just as much, if not more, than fucking white Americans and niggas, but, it happens. I mean, they still relatively look out for each other. And it's just like, you don't see that shit with these two other large demographics. You only ever see this shit with white Americans with the classism bullshit. Where, like I said, white nationalism... It's only relevant whenever it could literally be pushed as a propaganda tool. Because once they don't need to push that agenda no more, they don't give a fuck about the poor whites. They'll let these people die, starve, be worked as fucking coolie labor. They don't give a shit about providing these people better opportunities. They really don't. They never did. They never did. You see, that's what happens whenever you get about 25 to 50 different European ethnic groups, put them all together in one country, try to make them adopt some type of Anglo-American identity, and deep down they really don't fuck with each other like that. That's why I'll never understand the mentality of a lot of minorities think that all whites work with each other. They really fucking don't. They really don't, man. It's like, for example, I can use a political example, like whenever it comes to the left wing, where you have the authoritarian socialists, the conservative Democrats, the progressive liberals, the normal liberals, the fucking communists, the communist tankies, a lot of those people, right? They're only working together out of convenience. A lot of, bro, those groups really do not fuck with each other. They really don't. They really don't. They really don't, man. And it's one of those situations where the second an agenda gets pushed, these people are back to outright just not fucking liking each other, sliming each other out and just talking shit. And that's the reality of it. I mean, but that's proof of how, in the case of America, man, ignorant motherfuckers, no such thing as brotherhood. And ignorance like this is just creating a broader, low trust society. And before people try to mention race, it's not just a race thing, right? It's really not. It's really not. Because you could have an entirely white area and it could be extremely low trust because guess what? guess what? We have people on some shady shit, and they don't really fuck with you like that. You don't fuck with them like that. You're just going to see them as untrustworthy, and eventually, that feeling starts being mutual across the entirety of that said neighborhood or town or village. That's just how it is. And like shit, man, like there's still a lot of predominantly white areas in the U.S. where they're extremely low trust. People gossiping about other people, talking shit about them behind their back, stuff of that nature, and it's just, it never really just had to do with crime. It had to do with how people, even fucking speak to each other, how they associate with each other, man. Like, it is what it is. People could cope about it, but I mean, it is what it is. America as a whole is just one big low trust society full of people using quote-unquote American freedom to push their propaganda, their bullshit, and thinking that shit is just going to work like that when it doesn't work like that. This country is just gonna end up being on a slower and like an extremely slow decline until shit just progressively starts to get worse. The only reason why it's not as bad as it could be is because we live in a fucking martial law society since like 1865. Why do you think we have the National Guard? Why the National Guard gets sent out to handle shit in case people get unruly or rowdy and shit like that? But it is what it is. But yeah, this video is getting a bit too long, so I'll end it with this. Classism is extremely relevant. It's pointless to be a white American and a white nationalist because the people at the top and the people at the middle, they do not give a fuck about you or your poor dog. That's the reality of it. That's the reality of it, and many white Americans co-sign that. And please, and I mean please, don't vote against your interests. If you know you're on food stamps, if you know you're on welfare, or most of your family are, like, buddy, why the fuck are you voting Republican? Even though you're not going to benefit from that shit. Like, personally, I fucking hate both political parties, but at that point, just vote Democrat, bro. Just vote Democrat, bro, or at least peer pressure the fucking Republican that you elect into your town government to, at least do shit that appeal to the local people that might lean more socialist. But yeah, this country is a fucking shithole, man. Jesus Christ.